ABC, investigating for you. This is News 4 Tucson, live at 10.
A fire captain is the primary suspect, and it's never really been highlighted.
Friends and family say they'll never forget 3 lives taken from them too soon. And good evening, everybody. I'm Sean Mooney. It's a cold case gone hot. A Tucson Fire Department captain locked up tonight for the murder of his ex-wife, Linda Watson, and 2 others. Police believe 46-year-old David Watson is responsible for their deaths. He's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Linda Watson, Marilyn Cox, and Renee Farnsworth. Watson appeared in video court this morning. He's being held on $2 million bond. His next date in court is scheduled for May 5th. From the TechNet Center now, a timeline of the case. In August of 2000, 35-year-old Linda Watson disappeared from her home. The door was unlocked and there were traces of blood found. Fast forward 3 years later, her mother, Marilyn Cox, and family friend Renee Farnsworth were both brutally gunned down outside her home. That October, human skeletal remains were found in a desert area of the Tucson mountains. They were sent out for examination. And in 2011, 8 years later, it was confirmed the remains were Linda Watson's. Tonight, News 4 Tucson's Domenica Fuller spoke exclusively to Linda's best friend, who reveals new details about the case. It's a story you'll see only on 4.
It's been a cold case forgotten by many, but not by friends and family. They've wanted to keep their loved ones' memories alive. Friends describe Linda Watson as a happy, newly single young mother. And Linda's mom, Marilyn, was said to be a fighter who didn't give up after her daughter's disappearance. She just didn't live to see the day when justice was served.
And their lives mattered. And I want them to know that we didn't just forget about them.
For years, Marnell Camp has wished for her best friend's killer to be caught and for Linda Watson to be properly remembered.
He can't get away with this. And that they were good people. They were such good people. And they don't deserve this.
Her wish went ungranted for 15 years, until Saturday night, when David Watson, Linda's ex-husband, was arrested.
It's so hard when you know someone in such a personal way and they seem so good. You don't ever want to think that they have evil in them.
Marnell didn't want to believe David Watson was a killer, but Linda Watson's mother, Marilyn Cox, did, before he allegedly murdered her too.
Ever in my life seen a more fearless mother. A stronger, more fearless mom who knew. I mean, she was scared of him. She told us, if I die, it's him.
The real loss to Marnell is living without a true friend.
Very loving, very warm. She was a very good friend. She was very thoughtful. She was an amazing mother.
In the end, justice may be served, but for family and friends, it won't bring back Linda and Marilyn.
Thought about this day for so many years and so long, and I wanted this so badly for them. And honestly, I thought it would bring me this like amazing peace, and no, not at all. It was horrible. I mean, shocking. It's good, but it brings it all back. And it brings up the fact that this is it. It's just ugly. It's all ugly.
Lives were stolen, family and friends robbed of any more memories. I'm Domenica Fuller, News 4 Tucson.
New at 10, a somber anniversary for a Tucson family. Their loved one, Tomas Tovar, shot in a parking lot at Campbell and Irvington 1 year ago today. And that's where we find News 4 Tucson Sam Salzwedel live with more on this unsolved murder. Sam?
So even Tomas Tovar's sister is having a hard time staying optimistic that anybody's going to be held accountable here. But that doesn't mean the family is just sitting around waiting for a break in the case.
We're here for Tomas.
Friends and family of Tomas Tovar are remembering the man who was killed in this parking lot, including his son.
It was a time that my dad thought that glasses were cool, and he just started wearing them all around for no absolute reason at all.
But he doesn't wear glasses?
No.
His sister, Melissa Salazar, isn't just here because it's the anniversary of her brother's death. She's here almost every weekend, asking if anybody knows anything.
We're fighting for someone who can't speak up for himself, my big brother Tomas, but at the same time, you know, we're met with, we don't feel the support, you know, that that we would like.
But so far, her work has not paid off.
It's been hard. It's been really hard. It doesn't even feel like a year. You know, it feels, we feel just as hurt and just as bad as when we found out about it.
He was nice, he had a lot of friends, and him just walking here, over there, right there, getting shot by someone in a car. I don't think that's fair.
And the only lead they have in this case right now is a gray Dodge Magnum, might be a vehicle of interest. If you have any information, you can call 911 or make an anonymous tip to 88 Crime. On the south side, I'm Sam Salzwedel, News 4 Tucson.
Now to a News 4 Tucson investigation. In May of 2014, Tucson-based African Children's Charities brought a little boy here from Uganda for spinal surgery he desperately needed. But what began as a goodwill mission to save a child's life has turned into an international custody battle. And now, after months of legal wrangling and a near exit, the little boy they call Little Louis is back where it all began in Tucson, still caught in the middle of a controversy. At this point, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. Was Little Louis really found in a dump next to a cemetery in Uganda? Is he really an orphan? The latest revelations even question how old he is. What began as a mission to save a little boy has put a humanitarian organization's and a caregiver's motives in question.
I helped the child because he was on the jaws of death.
There were a lot of mistakes made, and that we should have had better vetting of the caregiver before we brought someone over. We certainly should have had some better documents.
We do know that Louis, or rather Luwazi Muhammad, after arriving in Tucson last May, underwent surgery to correct a debilitating spinal deformity caused by tuberculosis. The procedure went well, and under the care of African Children's Charities, Luwazi was soon back on his feet, going through rehabilitation and even going to school. It was at that time Joan Nachabuka, the woman who claims to have found Luwazi and who was brought over to the U.S. as his caregiver, had a falling out with the ACC. The organization continued to care for the boy. Nachabuka launched an effort to take custody through the Ugandan embassy, claiming the ACC's motive was to find Luwazi a home in the U.S. and to profit from the adoption. It worked. On Friday, December 5th, accompanied by the Oro Valley Police Department, DCS, and a representative from the Ugandan government, Luwazi was picked up at the school he had been attending and turned over to Joan Nachabuka.
My documents are really good, and that's what I want to explain to the court. They can't decide without me.
In the meantime, cut off financially from ACC, Joan Nachabuka attempted to raise money to return to Uganda, where she says she has 3 other children. Nachabuka also filed for asylum here in the U.S., a strange move for someone who said she was desperate to return to her native country. Nachabuka claims she did it out of fear for her family.
I did asylum because my family back home is in danger.
Nachabuka says that danger came in the form of threats from the ACC. Edward Booker, the attorney representing the organization, says nothing could be further from the truth. And that tale is only part of Nachabuka's trail of deceit.
A magistrate in Uganda signed an order, and his finding was that Ms. Nachabuka had forged documents to obtain custody of Luwazi.
Booker says the deeper they looked into Luwazi's short life in Uganda, the stranger the story became. Luwazi was first thought to be an orphan, with both parents lost to AIDS and no other living relatives. ACC learned that a grandmother existed. With that came more revelations, that Luwazi wasn't found left abandoned, and that his age is closer to 7 rather than 8. As the ACC was learning all this, Luwazi remained in the custody of Nachabuka. In January, she says she met Carlos Machar at a church. Joan and Luwazi soon moved in with Machar, and on Friday, March 23rd, the two were married. Machar says he is a U.S. citizen, but Nachabuka says the union has nothing to do with her wanting to become a citizen of the U.S.
I did not get married to become a citizen. I was in need of the husband. So
Despite seeking asylum and a new marriage, Edward Booker says the ACC received word that Joan had obtained tickets for the trip home and would be leaving in just a few days. Nachabuka says it was all true. The tickets completely paid for by the Department of Child Safety.
We filed an emergency petition and we're able to get an emergency order and warrant to retrieve Luwasi so that he could be, so that this could be sorted out in court.
On March 31st, under a Pima County Superior Court order, Luwasi was removed from the Midtown apartment where Joan Nachabuka was living and turned over to African Children's Charities.
They just came and snatched the child without me knowing what is going on.
He's really happy to be back here. It's all hugs and kisses, and he keeps thanking me.
Last week, the same judge who issued the emergency order held up his decision, granting African Children's Charities custody for 90 days.
Do you want to go back to Uganda?
No,
Why not?
because I like to stay here.
For now, the boy known as Little Lewis will stay here. But it is clear his uncertain journey is far from over.
African Children's Charities was responsible for bringing him over, and we have the responsibility of taking care of him and then returning him.
The truth will remain the truth, and I very well know that I'm gonna get him back.
The Department of Child Safety sent an email saying the department did not dispute Joan Nachabuka's claim regarding the purchase of airline tickets. When I inquired why those tickets were provided while the custody of Luwasi was still being decided by the courts, DCS said it could not provide any more information while the case is still pending. If you have a story you'd like us to investigate, email us at investigators@kvoa.com or call 955-4444. Up next at 10, why a security at a Sierra Vista school will be beefed up tomorrow. Keep it here. News 4 at 10. We'll be right back.
Investigating for you. This is News 4 Tucson. Sean Mooney, Richie Melby, and John Patrick. This is News 4 Tucson, live at 10.
New at 10, a Sierra Vista teen is facing charges of terrorism, threatening, and disrupting an educational facility. This after a threatening post warned of a shooting at a mall or at a school tomorrow. Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniels wrote, "It is unfortunate that people make these kinds of statements on a social media site with the sole purpose of inciting fear. Police insist that extra patrols will remain in effect throughout the day at schools there in Sierra Vista." Well, an act of vandalism at the Fox Theater. The entranceway by the ticket booth spotted with graffiti. We're told there's no suspects yet. And the latest now on the deadly earthquake in Nepal. A husband and wife team who live just north of Payson are deploying to the area slammed by Mother Nature. Glenn and Julie Bradley are both retired U.S. Army telecommunications officers, as well as volunteers with the American Red Cross. Meantime, the death toll there has jumped once again, now standing at 3,200 people.
All right, well, it was valley rain and snow in the mountains to round out the weekend. It won't be sticking around long, though. We have some of the warmest temperatures of the year so far in your 7-day forecast. We'll have your full forecast coming up right after the break.